Sleepers Podcast, Thursday, December 11th. It is a monumentous occasion on the pod. Mr. Ryan Hammer is joining us for the first time on a full episode. We've got a great show in store for you. Hammer, you're Mr. Worldwide right now. You've been to Mackey Arena for the Iowa State beatdown. You've been to MSG last night. You were at the Players Era, where you became apparently the face of the Players Era without even intentionally trying to be. So we're very lucky to have you today, sir. How are you?
I appreciate it. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I told you beforehand, I got back at 1:30 a.m. last night because they schedule these games in the East Coast super late. The double headers too, like come on. Like I get it. Prime time, whatever. Like it's just annoying. But anyways, I'm home. I'm tired. I'm happy to be here. I got big shoes to step into and fill for Big Man Cart.
Quite literally big shoes. Carter Elliott's shoes
They're
today.
he,
So
he probably wears what, like a size, I don't know, 14?
pretty sure it's a size 14, 14 and a half, if I'm remembering. But I'm
I wear
not
10
full
and a half,
watching
so.
Carter. Don't worry, I'm not. Xavier Lee, your boy, some signs of life last night. I saw the tweet. You were pumped up for him. Do you have a backstory with Xavier? Do you just know him personally a little bit?
So when he was at Princeton, obviously for 3 years. I live like 45 minutes from Princeton. I got in touch to helping them out with the media day stuff one time. So I had went me, him, and Caden got kind of close, and like I just started talking to them a lot. I was going to a lot of their games. Super nice kid, super great kid. So over the years of watching him play and talking to him more and more, even like helping him through the portal process and stuff, he's such a good kid, and I just want the very best for him. So seeing that last night. I was sitting right there. I was like, this gets me going. Like this means something to me.
Yeah, I saw your tweet and I was like, weirdly, I don't know, you and I are kind of both going through this like building independent content careers out of college basketball world together. And we're fortunate to be able to work with you. But I saw your tweet and I just felt it because like I've been there where there's a player I have some sort of personal relationship with that I
Mm.
just root for a little harder than the random players that you cover in this sport. I could feel that from you with Xavier.
Yeah, like there's like Braden's an obvious one for you, right? Like you want Braden to play well, not just from a professional standpoint, but from a personal standpoint because you know him so well. And like people ask the time, who are you a fan of? Like you're a Maryland fan. I'm like, I grew up watching Maryland. Like I really don't care who ends up winning, but of course, like there are people like they're human beings. Like I know these human beings, so I of course I care.
Yeah, right. When he played great, it was great to see. He just
Yeah.
so much more aggressive than we've seen in the early part of the year. So
Yeah.
cool to see. Fun game for sure. We got a lot of Purdue audience, of course, that listens to this regularly that were pretty hype about you making the trip to West Lafayette for the first time. So obviously the game didn't go how you expected, but any behind the scenes stories or thoughts from your trip to Mackey Arena?
Well, they might not let me back. They might never let me back. I went to a bar after the game on the way out. I got recognized a lot. It was very fun. It was like super humbling. But this one guy didn't even say a word to me, no name, nothing. He just like, hey, like get out of here, like you're not welcome back. And I turned, and he was like, no, like seriously, you're not welcome back. And his friends were laughing, and I was like, I'm definitely gonna leave now. But no, it's cool. I have not been to a lot of places like Allen Fieldhouse and even Cameron Indoor and the Brez, and but Mackey Arena, easily the best home college basketball stadium I have ever been to. It is so well set up for games. Even the day before the game when I walked in, I was like, this place is special. It's so cool. Like it feels small, but it's actually big. Every seat is good. It's super loud in there. It's unique. The branding is great. Like it is such an awesome place. So yeah, result that sucked. But shit happens.
Yeah, you got all the history on the concourse. They got the wooden statue outside. There's all these jerseys and plaques and trophies. And then you just go in and it's like dark and spooky. It almost feels like you're playing with like the lights halfway dim. And
Yeah.
then it's like cold. You almost feel cold in Mackey Arena as a visitor. But
Mm.
both times I've been in Mackey, Purdue has torched their opponents. So I'm trying to even put
Mm.
myself in your shoes and like I can't even imagine what it would be like to like meet Mackey Arena and feel the special voodoo nature of it. And then, oh shit, Milan Momcilovic is just transcending it.
Dude, I mean, exactly. And like they were down by like five at halftime, pretty sure, and they showed some signs of life early in the second. And at halftime, I'm thinking like they're gonna come out rolling. Like the crowd is crazy here, like it's active. Obviously they didn't, but Iowa State's legit, dude. Those are my guys too. I'm like very tight with them. Something so like I have voodoo magic against Purdue now after one game, but I have seen Iowa State live 4 times in the last year. last year home against Kansas, and they wiped the floor with them when Iowa State was ranked number 2 in the country. I saw them twice at Players Era against St. John's in that tight win without Taman at the end, and then Creighton, and then now this game. So the Iowa State fans are now claiming me. That's good luck.
Yeah, you're a cyclone by nature. I got clipped in Iowa State put an official video out recapping this win. And the opening of it was my prediction where I got real bold and I was just like, listen, I didn't know Taman was playing at this point. So my exact words were, this is a freshman point guard from France in Mackey Arena against Braden Smith. And they clipped it. They did it dirty and they
Of
deserve
course.
it. Killian
He's
Torrey
amazing
was
too.
great.
He's so good.
Yeah, I just love that team. They're really good.
Yeah.
What about, so you said you went to a bar. Did you go to the chocolate shop?
I did. I went to chocolate shop the first night I got there because one of my friends from Purdue told me I had to go. And then on Twitter the next night, people were tweeting at me like, "Yo, Harry's tonight," and I was like, thinking about it. And Jess and my wife was with me. I was like, you know what? Like, fuck it. I'll make. I tweeted. I shouldn't have tweeted anything. That was the problem. And I tweeted like, all right, I'll be there. And then like someone retweeted it, and it just started going crazy. And I was like, oh nah. Like, it was fun though. It was cool. I haven't been to a college bar and waited in line like that in so long in my like in years, years, years. So humbling experience to go into a college bar like that, but good time. I know it dates back to like the Prohibition days and stuff like that, but that was cool. And Triple X, shout out Triple X, the root beer and the burgers there, A1.
See, we didn't get to Triple X. I feel like that's the one thing I need to go back to the city for at this point. But yeah, I was wondering, the Harry's was really gassed up to us. We almost got kicked out of Harry's, not for drinking too much, but I was cheering against Indiana too loud, and a bartender came over and was like, "Yo, you need to tone it down." And it was a Michigan Indiana game in like the last Jawan year. And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, this is your rival. I can't
Yeah, why do they
cheer
care?
against them in a bar." It was
Also,
crazy.
it's like a bar that like there's a million loud people there. I don't
It
see the
was very
problem.
confusing. But Gene
But
Katie was there. Did you see Gene Katie at any point this weekend?
I did not. I don't think.
Okay. Yeah, you would know. They flock to Gene Katie if you see Gene
Yeah.
Katie. So, all right. Well, thank you for the behind the scenes. We appreciate that. Let's get to the show. We start every episode with a YouTube comment. So I'm just going to look immediately for the first YouTube comment on the channel right now. And Scare Time Studios says, Purdue fan here. Michigan looks dominant. Greg, enjoy this season, bro. This is fun. Thank you. I am enjoying this season. Ryan Hammer, can I please get your thoughts on what this Michigan team is?
I mean, so I saw something funny today that like, well, obviously they look like the best team ever right now. Like analytically, they are the greatest team of all time at any point in the season or at past like a certain amount of games. Like they're been ridiculous. I saw someone about their talk about their schedule and was trying to. I don't agree with this. It just made me think for a second. Like, oh, like so the Wake TCU games, whatever. They played San Diego State, Auburn, and then Gonzaga on their third game in a row on a back-to-back-to-back, and then they've beaten Rutgers and Nova. So like what is impressive about the wins outside of the Gonzaga is are they fraudulently not the best team ever? Basically, the person was saying. I thought for a half a second, like maybe they're not as amazing, but at the same time, I don't think Villanova's bad. Auburn is not bad, but Arizona also beat the shit out of them too. So it
Yeah.
just started making me think. I'm basically just playing devil's advocate because again, they look like the greatest team ever. If Elliot Cadeau's shooting like he is, like he has from three a few times, like I, who's going to stop them? And he's not turning the ball over. So they look fantastic. Dusty's one of the best coaches in the country. He was at FAU already, and now you give him all this artillery and resources at Michigan, and the freaking 7 million foot Giants. Life's going to be pretty good for Michigan. So
Yeah, the thing that's compelling to me, which we said on the recap, so I'm beating a dead horse if you listen to that, but people are hitting me up like this can't be sustainable, right? Like this has to be they're peaking too early. And a couple things for me on that, like I totally hear that. That would be my gut reaction too if I was kind of just paying attention to it, peripherally. The reason they're blowing these teams out is 2 point dominance. That's not really fluky at all. It's
mhm.
not like they're getting hot from three every game. They shot really bad from three against Villanova, and we're up 30 at halftime still. It's kind of jarring how simple they make the game look just off of how talented and big they are inside right now. And I don't think that's necessarily going to go away. If they could do that to the Gonzaga front court, it's probably here to stay. And I know our boy Christian, do you know Christian Ojackson at all?
Of course.
Yeah, good dude. He worked with us last year a little bit, and he was interviewing me about Yaxel in the preseason. He was texting me last night. Yaxel is classified as a role player on this team right now. He is seventh on the team in usage rate,
It's wild.
and they're this good. Like, there's a pretty clear thing to point to of like if they needed to, they could use their best player more. And I don't know what you do with that. They probably don't need to ever do it, but it's pretty crazy
Yeah.
to think
The
about.
2 point percentage thing is good too, because like 65 on offense, 37 they're letting up in 2 point percentage on defense. So the defensive side is just as good, if not better. I look at the teams they played so far. The team that will beat them eventually, they're not gonna go 40-0 or whatever. If they do, then whatever. Clip that. Great. Good for them. But and they won't see a lot of this teams that can just light it up from three and like absolutely go crazy. Where like Michigan, Alabama is not super big, but we've seen them play against like St. John's and bigger teams, and they can battle enough with their size, and like Aiden Terrell is big enough. Teams that can just absolutely light it up, and whatever defensive scheme and pressure is being thrown at you, it is completely irrelevant. Alabama is like one of the few teams that can do that. It feels like when they get
Yeah.
hot, that is the type of team that I think would beat this Michigan team, if any team. And luckily, like I said, the Big Ten doesn't have many of those teams. I think the Illinois game will be good because they're big also, and I know
Yeah.
you're probably very excited for that one. But
Yeah.
I just like don't know what other style of team beats them because like, can you beat them in a rock fight? Probably not. Like they're just gonna out physical you, out everything you in the paint. So I don't know.
Yeah, Michigan State's going to put that to the test. Either me or Tom Izzo are going to be broken after that game somehow. But no, I think you're right. I think you have to limit possessions would be my number one thing, and then 3 point variance. Just make it a total three
Yeah.
point game on both ends. And I think there are teams that can do that. Iowa State's probably another team that could do that theoretically. But yeah, in the Big Ten, it's like if you could combine Purdue with their 3 point heavy offense and defense with Michigan State's physicality, to me, that's the team. But like, imagine how crazy that I'm talking combined Michigan's two biggest
Right, right,
contenders
right.
in the Big Ten, and that's how you beat them. It's psychotic. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I'm enjoying it. All right, to the Discord. We've got a Discord community. You can join for $9.99 a month. It's the number one way to support our team. In fact, people that are joining the Discord are the people that have made it possible for us to work with people like Ryan Hammer this year. So if you like seeing us expand our team, this is the number one way to do so to support the entire Sleepers team. We read the comments every single day. We're starting today with All Hail the Pope, who said the reason Kentucky is getting AP votes is probably from the teams we beat to try to make their win look better. I was wondering how they're still getting votes, Hammer. What do you think of this?
I saw the same person, the same people that have Iowa State or Purdue over Iowa State still, were the people, the voters, that girl Abby, who was trying to justify it with like, she's like, I have an algorithm and it's there's some head-to-head and eye test in there. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about? Anyone who has Kentucky still in their poll should have their vote revoked immediately. I've been saying they should have literally a ball knowledge test every single year, maybe a few times throughout the year, like just to show that you're watching the games. It's not going to be like who's analytically whatever. It's going to be like name two teams Michigan has beat this year. Name one Final Four team from last year. Like I legitimately don't think these people watch, and they're like, yeah, Kentucky, they lost to good teams. Like they're still Kentucky, and that's about it. And they open up Ken Palm and they see him in the top 20. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so stupid.
There's almost too many tools now that people don't have to watch games. They can just look at what analytics say and try to follow that blindly. But bad look for our girl Abby, who, by the way, I have met her in person. She's like one of the nicest people ever. I saw
Of
that back and
course.
forth going, and I was like, oh no, like
It wasn't me first of all, the back and forth. Thankfully, it was Cyclone,
yeah,
one of them, Cyclone Dave or somebody. But
yeah.
they yeah, I imagine she's a very nice person, and she can be. She just needs to not do what she's doing with the votes. That's all.
Her reasoning did not pass the smell test
She
whatsoever.
said algorithm with a hint of like eye test and head to head. I'm like, so it's not an algorithm. It's just eye test and
Yeah.
whatever you want to do. So
Your algorithm needs more head to head if you still put Purdue ahead of Iowa State after this one. Malik
yeah.
Perry's next. We call these Malik flurries because he just hits us with like four comments in a row. He says, some of you Purdue fans are weird. One loss and you acting like it's the end of the world. Welcome to the real world. The train's still moving. Losing to Duke wasn't bad. We didn't get good games from our guards and Carr. Coop had an amazing game. No more Fort minutes. Scott Teng and Divine Ugachukwu only. Are you buying any Michigan State stock right now?
Um, I think I've purchased a little bit and I'll hold on that and I won't buy any more. I think they're awesome and they're really good. I just don't think that they're a team that can win the national championship, but I also know how high their floor is and how good they are. Very similar to last year. Just much better shooting, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm pushing the narrative that they're a year away, and I know they're going to lose Cooper and Kohler, which obviously makes them really special this year. But they're going to get some pretty supreme talent in with Josiah Jervis next year and Ethan Taylor in the front court, and you bring back Fears and Carr with those vets and some
Ooh,
emerging young pieces.
I
I'm
like
gonna
that.
really like that team. Malik also says, "Well, Notre Dame's season is over. Don't agree, but that's life. Now, for anyone who has a problem with my team not playing in a bowl game." Blank it. They're making the right decision. Do you have an issue with Notre Dame turning down a bowl invite?
Um, More than the other teams which is probably unfair. I just know that they put themselves on this pedestal of not joining a conference. I'm also not like a huge college football fan, but I pay enough attention where I just how quickly and like how I could just maybe try to read into some unknown context of like I know they think they're better than everybody else. That's why they're doing this when other schools are doing the same thing. I just think them not being in a conference and then saying we're not going to play in the bowl game is really bad for college football because the bowl games matter for 91% of the teams in the country in FBS who don't get to play in the college football playoff bracket. So, or not everybody obviously gets into a bowl game, but they matter. They matter more to the sport than I compared it to the NIT. They matter more to football than the NIT does to basketball. So I think that they could have declined it maybe in a better way, but
Yeah.
that's nitpicking. So
I think it would be lame, like to your fans. Like I think there are still fans that would have liked to go to a Notre Dame bowl game, even if they're devastated from the playoff. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but this whole bowl system needs to be redone. It's frustrating.
it's so bad. They've by the way, think about it. They have not played for a trophy this year. They had no conference championship to play in, and then they get kicked out of the bracket, and now they're like no bowl game. They have no trophy to play for, not one. They were never playing for anything.
Yeah, that's so true. Malik, I'm not reading your fourth comment. I have no idea what it means, but it terrifies me. We're gonna keep it moving. Lawn guy, formerly Fam, says, "Say what you want, but the midweek flurry always hits different. Make it a great Thursday, folks." Thank you, Fam, for acknowledging that. Purdue Fox says, "Who lost the breakup worse, Penn State or Micah Shrewsbury?"
Ooh, Penn State. They are down in the ducks without him, and that was basically one of the best seasons ever that I can remember in recent history.
Yeah, I think it's a lose-lose, to be honest. It's not Shrew's fault it's been a lose-lose. He's had some terrible injury luck in his couple years at Notre Dame. I still believe in Shrewsbury, but don't believe in Rhodes. And I think they're going to get Dylan Mingo, which means he's going to get another year, which is going to feel an awful lot like Steve Peichel's year with 2 5 stars to me. Like, they're not going to be good even with the Mingo brothers next year. You know?
No, definitely not. I actually, by the way, I like low key want to see. I don't want Notre Dame to be bad. I'm like Schuster to be bad. He's so good. He'll get swooped up fast. I would love to see him coach like one of the new Pac-12 schools or like
Yeah,
A10 or something random like that or like whatever or like give him Memphis. He would. Oh my God, they would go crazy with him. So I
yeah.
want him to be at a program that he can turn into a Gonzaga because he's one of those guys that can do that.
Totally agree. If he was like in a good mid-major league, he might become the emergent mid-major
Yeah.
coach there is. Sid says Cart has been hesitant about the Illini this whole time. What's it going to take for him to get on the bandwagon? Cart's not here. Sorry, Sid. We'll get him some other day. Also says this might be crazy, but is Keaton Wagler actually an upgrade on Kasparis Yakichonis?
Yeah, crazy. It's not pronounced Wagler. I know it's not. I understand it's not, but like that every time I see it in my brain, Wagler, I'm like, wait a minute, don't say anything stupid.
I know.
Um, is he an upgrade? I think his life is a little easier than KJ's was last year in the with a role where you consider his role and efficiency levels with that. So I'll say not yet, but give it another month and I might say that.
It's an
What do you think?
amazing point. Thomas Slavovicic was the second best player on Illinois last year. He's the fifth best player this year.
Yeah.
This is a better team all in all, and Wagler might get credit for it for more efficient numbers, but it was not Kasparis's fault that last year's team became what it was. Big Three and Snapping Turtle says, "Is it time to start talking about Michigan having the chance to be the best college basketball team of all time? I'm dead serious. That net rating is insane. We will look back and laugh that one of the best college basketball teams of all time wasn't ranked number one for the first 2 months of the season. Enjoy it, G." Thank you. I am enjoying it. This is too early for that type of talk. Even though like I totally understand analytically it seems real, I'm fine with sitting here and saying they might have had the best first month of a season that any team has ever had, But I see right now their net rating is the fourth best in the history of the KenPom database. They're behind three of the best Duke teams ever. They're behind Cooper Flagg's Duke team a year ago. And then they're behind a couple Final Four teams and a championship team from the early 2000s. I am open to it, but we got to give it time, Hammer.
Yeah, obviously, like again, right? That getting to that conversation is what we talked about before, where I said devil's advocate. They've only beaten really a top team in Gonzaga, and it was off a back to back to back in a neutral site and whatever, and a good matchup for them, if we're being honest. But sure, one of the best months ever. I will say yes on KenPom, but without preseason data, if you just look at strictly this year's statistics, they are basically the best team ever. So I will give them that. But I look at their schedule, dude. Like Maryland, LaSalle, McNeese. They're going to be tough games, like semi-tough maybe. But Maryland, LaSalle, McNeese, USC, Penn State, Wisconsin, Washington, Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State, Nebraska. They should not lose a single one of those, especially the caliber they're playing right now. If
Yeah.
they do that and they're undefeated going to the Breslin Center on January 30th, Friday night, that will be one of the best games of the entire college basketball season, and that will tell us the truth in that game if they're undefeated then.
I'm gonna be absolutely terrified if we get to that point, and that's the stakes. But
Oh.
yeah, I also like looking ahead. I've made the joke. It's hashtag play somebody. Even though we played Gonzaga, you got to play somebody. There's a week at the end of this year. They go to Mackey for Purdue, then they go to DC for Duke, then they have Minnesota at home, then they go to Champaign for the Merez Johnson return game against Illinois. That is three insane games at Mackey, Duke, and at Illinois in a 4 game stretch in 2 weeks.
And
Is
Iowa and then Michigan State after that too, even.
Right. It's if you want to criticize like who if they play, we will find out if this team is still playing at this level by
It
February exactly what
it's
they're
a
made
good
of.
point though. Like any team on their schedule a real national title contender outside of Gonzaga, I guess, like is Michigan State and Illinois, like they're probably on that border, I would say.
Yeah,
So
I think
like
so.
they get to play Duke. I lied. Just completely forget that.
Duke would be the big one, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
no, I hear you. All right, two more here. All Hail the Pope says, just saw our Wolverines are plus 475 to win a chip. Wish I had placed a bet before the season. Did you have one in? No, I did not. And this is serious. If you listen to my preseason coverage of this team, I think you know this, but I didn't see this coming at all. I just didn't. I believed that Dusty May would spit out a good team, maybe a Final Four caliber team. I believed Yaxel would be amazing. I thought this team's identity would just be dependent entirely on Yaxel being Danny Wolf
Mm.
and what can they do with that. This team, sum of their parts is so much more advanced than I realized. Mara and Cadeau have been so much better than I thought. I did not like those guys as players coming in. So, no, I missed the boat. Even a week ago, I was not rushing to bet Michigan to win a national championship. Certainly wish I did now, but also, if you have seen the odds, if you're a sports bettor, you can't bet Michigan now. They're
Yeah.
minus 120 to make a Final Four. It's ridiculous.
No way. That's crazy. Yeah, you're like, right. Then fine. How about this? Give me the field
Right.
for even odds, basically.
Right. It's nonsensical, but I wish I had. All hail the Pope. I do. Last one today. Purdue Fox says, what are your thoughts on starting large and trimming your rotation by March versus identifying your top 6, 7 early and getting them max reps? Iowa State only had 6 players in double-digit minutes, didn't even put the scrubs or the walk-ons in at the end, while Purdue had 9 players in double-digit minutes. I really don't know which approach is better.
Yeah, I think it's very situational because like Iowa State knows they know there are three guys. They're three guys. They know that Blake Buchanan and Nate Heisey were two of their glue guy role players, and then Killian Torrey has kind of emerged. I think it's super situational where teams that have their guys, especially returners, they know who they're going to play, right? Like then you look at a team like Kentucky who's struggled to figure it out, and they're just kind of throwing shit at the wall until it sticks. It feels like, but they can't get it to work out either. And I just think it's completely situational, but. I guess theoretically, cop out answer, I like some kind of balance. I like leaning on two or three of your best players. Hopefully, one of them, at least one of them, is a returner, and you maybe have a portal out or whatever. And then I like toying around with the back end of the rotation more than anything else.
Yeah, I in general don't think there's one way to do it. I will say the concern with having a tight rotation early in the season is burnout and or injury. If
Yeah.
you're playing a 6 man rotation 35 minutes a game through the gauntlet of your schedule, that's 30 games, you will theoretically wear guys down and you will have attrition. I think most championship teams we could look back through history, most are pretty deep and play deep early. And then
Mhm.
by March, you usually do trim it down to maybe a 7 or 8 man rotation is the sweet spot for me. I think Michigan's going to do that. I mean, they're going 9 deep right now, and there's a couple clear guys that could go from 20 minutes to 10 minutes by the end of the year and possibly get
Yeah.
things better, but we'll see. With
It's pretty
Purdue,
easy too. Like it's easy when you're winning games by 40 to go
right.
deep and be like, yeah, we can just try new things. Like it's pretty
Right.
simple.
100%. Keep everybody happy, give them minutes. Purdue's an interesting case study, though. I know that was a Purdue fan that asked the question because, like, Braden, TKR, and Fletch are going to play 35 minutes. So when you talk about a nine-man rotation, you're really talking like we're splitting three guys at shooting
Right.
guard. That's where I do think playing two guys at shooting guard might be better because it's hard to get a rhythm. Like, if CJ Cox is playing good for 12 minutes and knows he's only getting 12 minutes, to me, that can have psychological effects, you know?
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you to the Discord. Appreciate the comments as always. Let's get to the show. For topic one today, this is kind of just a big picture conversation on the state of college basketball. When I worked at Field of 68, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, it was the Armando Bacot, Hunter Dickinson, Kofi Coburn year. And I remember they were working on the almanac and they dubbed it the year of the big. And I remember watching that year in college basketball and feeling like the product of the sport stunk. This is gross. It was like North Carolina underachieved and Michigan Hunter Dickinson underachieved, and it felt like we needed to get rid of the COVID year and get back to talent. And this year, there's all these incredible freshmen. There's all these incredible deep teams right now. But it did dawn on me when you look at the top teams in this sport almost all of them have gone all in on two bigs and playing two post players at once, if not more. And this is not what the sport was doing as little as 5, 6 years ago.
Mm.
It's certainly a departure from like the early 2010s when everybody was trying to go small and get shooting on the floor. Just looking broadly at this, Michigan looks historically good. They obviously play Merez and Mara or Yaxel pretty much the full game. You go through basically any other team in the country right now. Iowa State starts too big, Joshua Jefferson and Blake Buchanan. You've got Gonzaga, who's going EK and Huff. You've got Duke, who's going Boozer and Big Pat. Arizona's going Koa Pete with a center. Purdue's playing Trey Kaufman-Renn with Oscar Clough. UConn is probably the one
Mm.
quote-unquote elite team right now that does not qualify. They're primarily playing Alex Caravan at the four. But it's interesting at minimum. It does feel like there's a top six. Draw the cut line at maybe Purdue and up right now. And all six of those teams are playing two post guys at once. Do you think that two big lineups has become a formula for success within this sport?
I definitely think that like you said it before, and like 5, 6 years ago, it was unheard of basically. Even like last year, obviously they did it a little differently, like Dusty May's first year, but like they're running a two big man pick and roll between Danny and Vlad, and I was like, everyone in the country was like, what in the world is going on right now? Like, how is this working? I think that again, it's situational with who you can add, who you have, and who you retain, whatever. But I think it's a really easy way to dominate lesser teams because you look at lesser teams, especially at like non-power level, mid-major level, even teams that are in the power level that are just like the bottom of conferences. You are going to kick the absolute garbage out of teams that have no size. You are going to kick the absolute shit out of teams, even teams like Arizona State, who's technically the biggest team in the country. They've improved and they've been able to battle with teams because of size, and they're playing to that when historically and recently they've been awful. So even beyond the top few teams, I think playing with size has shown that you can beat worse teams much easier. It offers you a high floor. Like Virginia's another team that I think of with Ted Ritter and Johan Grunlo and Ugo and Yenso. Like there are a lot of teams down there that love to just exploit the size and physicality mismatches. And we saw St. John's do it last year also, where they would play teams worse than them, and the games are it's not fair. Like it's they I watched them play Quinnipiac the first game of the season. It wasn't fair, and Quinnipiac's actually a decent mid-major team in their league. Like I don't think it's the one. It's a recipe for success for everybody, and everyone's gonna do this every year. But when the opportunity arises, having more big options than not gives you that option, at least if it's gonna work, to instill in your lineup. And teams that are, I think it just happens to be that there are a lot of elite bigs playing together for the right coaches in the right systems for them to gel together too.
Yeah. I think it's the shocking thing to me, just kind of stepping back and realizing how many teams are doing this. Because I named like the top six, but you could even go further down this list too, right? Like Houston's playing Tugler at the four with a center. Michigan State's playing Kohler and Cooper together. Florida is huge. They're playing
Yeah.
three bigs at once. St. John's plays two bigs. Kansas plays Tiller and Flory together. It's like one thing that jumps out to me is like also bigs are more skilled than they used to be. When you
Yeah.
play two bigs, a lot of bigs can shoot now, and you basically want great positional size everywhere. If you're going to do that, you have to play somebody that is a quote unquote traditional big man at the four in this day and age. I also think that college basketball in general is just like a copycat league.
Mm.
And when you see something that works, you follow it. I talked about how the Big Ten for a decade, after Matt Painter stumbled upon Isaac Haas and started reproducing 7'5" guys, the Big Ten like scrambled and was like, we all need 7 footers. What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
I think you're right with what Dusty did last year. That's a data point, but I would even point to Florida and their path to a
Yeah.
national championship. Like, look at what Todd Golden did from last year to this year. If anything, building his roster for this year, he said, I want more size than I
Yeah.
had a year ago. And it's kind of crazy to think about. It also dawned on me that this might be true in the portal era. I think we've seen that post players are a little bit easier to project as transfers than guards.
Mm.
And if
Okay.
you're going to spend big money on transfers, sometimes it's a little bit riskier to make your biggest investment a backcourt player. Just to pick one name out, like the Aiden Mahaney flop for UConn last year was a tough one. And there's certainly been some struggles for high profile guards this year. So I don't know. Do you buy that hypothesis at all in the portal era having something to do with this?
A little bit. I think it's the sense of what you said of like big players have. Think about bigs in the NBA also. I think it's translation of that where you have a big prospect. Zach Edey's a great example. You know the floor is high for those guys that are traditional bigs and post players, but you know that maybe Zach Edey's a bad example because he's been playing so well. But realistically, you know the ceiling is lower. Like that's how they project as pros and basketball players to the next level. So it's the same thing in college. Florida is such a good example because like they show that if you have really good size, that's a problem. It gives the guards space to more space and more freedom and less I guess eyes on them and less attention to them. This year, obviously the Florida guards haven't been great so far, but even like Micah Handlockton, it's like was like their fourth best big or third if Hauk is a three, whatever. But throw Hauk in there, he's their fourth best guy in the front court, and he was a double double machine. I think it was Marshall before he was there. Like it's a good point to what you said. Like they don't need to be great scorers and great players even, but obviously they are getting more talented. But I think they're just higher floor, lower ceiling players. So and they're easier to get too. Every
Yeah.
good mid major, not everyone. So many good mid major teams have like a Micah Handlockton. It's a great example where he's going to be a rotational guy, but he's going to play a pretty big role for them, and you know he's going to be decent.
Yeah, it's 100% true. I think like Oscar Clough's a great example of that, right? He was maybe the best mid-major player in the country, I think, in terms of overall impact with his rebounding. And he's very much just like a huge high floor guy. He's
Yeah.
never going to wow you now that he's at Purdue, but you know what he's going to give you every single day. And it's almost like a can't miss proposition with big men to me. And maybe that's part of why teams have invested in it so much. But
Mm.
I mean, doesn't it feel like outside of UConn, I'm trying to think of the teams that wouldn't qualify for this. I
I
guess
mean, Vandy's
BYU.
not like what you say?
BYU's kind of small, I guess.
Yeah, I mean Kevin Cade is like two big men on his own sometimes.
That's
I'll give
so
him that.
true.
But they're more traditional. Vandy's not like I wouldn't classify them as the elite yet, even though rankings wise they're up there. They need to play. They need to hashtag play somebody, obviously.
Yep.
Um, State Alabama is probably more. Alabama's kind of an outlier, and Louisville they both play like we know how they play.
Yeah.
Kansas is more traditional, I'd say too, but there's gonna be traditional teams everywhere, right? Like even Texas Tech, they play Bemboye when he's healthy and JT a lot. That's their vision, but and JT is basically a five at this point in college. So,
Yeah.
um, but as you go down, you see less of them. It's true.
I think it's interesting the teams that you would say are like really zagging if the rest of the country is zigging into two bigs. It's like Louisville and Kentucky, theoretically the 3-point bombing teams, and they're not exactly analytically skyrocketing the way they could. So I don't
Yeah,
know. It'll
it's
be
tough.
interesting to see. We'll see.
Yeah,
Not saying it can't happen, but it's an interesting trend to watch.
yeah, for sure.
Topic two today, it was like Christmas for college basketball fans because you came out with your trapezoid of excellence this week. First rendition this year, I believe. So, for any of our listeners who are unfamiliar with this, can you just give some background exactly on what this is and why you do this every year?
Yeah, I do it for no reason. I'm just kidding. The trapezoid of excellence was dawned and birthed out of literally nothing, out of me messing around on CBB Analytics site where you can like basically plot teams based on a bunch of stats. And I always just like 2 years ago, I was just trying to find. I go in the stats chart and plotting team scatter chart tool and just try to find trends from like the past tournaments. And it was like I want to say December or January. I'm just trying to figure out ways to find teams that historically succeed in March. And I think I was watching an Alabama game or someone like that, and I was like, God, they play so fast. And I looked into some tempo, and then I was like, let me put it up on a chart and let me just um, see what it looks like. And I put up pace. I just put up overall efficiency, and I was like, interesting. Like I started to notice some matchup things of teams who play really fast and really slow when they play each other. And then I started looking into it, and I was like, okay, like these teams seem like they're the best teams in the country. And then I looked back historically to see that and what the trapezoid basically is a theory with historical proof that the more adaptable you are in your style and pace, the better suited you are to win at the highest level in March. Now, I think people always forget that part about the trapezoid. They think like Alabama, I hate Alabama. Like, no, I'm just saying they can't win a national championship the way they play. And they have gotten far every year, but they've hit a wall. And they hit walls against teams like Duke and teams that are adaptable and play slower and take them out of their game. So basically, the faster or slower you play, the better you have to be at that to be able to win a national championship and even go to the Final Four and just at the highest level. Because if you think about it, the theory, why I say theoretically, you're playing teams that aren't who you are and aren't who you're used to playing in conference now because you're playing obviously non-con games. You're playing teams in different regions and neutral sites of different styles on back-to-back, so you don't know who you're going to play sometimes in 2 days until you get them and you win your game. So being adaptable is super important, and the last few years have shown that those teams, Duke last year and Auburn, the entire Final Four last year they're all one seeds obviously, but basically the more adaptable you are, the better suited you are to win a national championship. Again, I like the teams that play fast and slow, especially for mid majors, because they're very different and they're outliers. So you get an outlier and you're like, oh my God, we like Drake is a great example last year. They were the slowest team in the country, and Mizzou is fast, a fast paced team. They get Drake and they're like, we have not played against this in the SEC, and we did not prepare for this. And then they got dragged into that game, and they could never win that game. So it's not to say that those teams are bad that aren't in it, just to say to win at the highest level, be adaptable.
Yeah, that's a very interesting concept. And I think I've interpreted this and watched you do this for years without even fully understanding what it meant until I just got that background from you.
There you
So
go.
hopefully that gave some insight to others just like me. Is there any, when you were doing the research for this, like going back years, are there any teams that like have bucked this hypothesis? Like, I guess the first one that comes to mind for me is like, were the Virginia teams too slow for this?
I think that I have to go back. I think that they were outside of it, and they're
Okay.
like the outlier for sure. They also still prove the theory of like if you're going to be that slow, you have to be amazing. Houston's kind of like that too. They've been a little faster possession wise.
Yeah.
It also shifts. Like that's the biggest thing, and honestly, the hardest part for me is that I'm honest about it. I don't have like hard data points that it has to be at this because it has to shift for national averages of pace. Like if everyone's playing faster, it has to shift with that. It can't just shift to be what it was historically because the game changes over years, right?
Yeah.
Virginia's the one team that's obviously the crazy outlier. People even argue they shouldn't have won the national championship, to be honest, that year. But they did win, and if you're going to be slow or fast, you got to be that good at it.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you are looking for a visual on this, by the way, find it on Ryan Hammer's profile on Twitter. You'll see it right there if you scroll down a little bit, and I'm sure this is probably all over people's timelines anyway. But so looking at this, I guess is because there's some that are right on the verge. If they get a little bit overlap, are you calling them in the trapezoid?
So technically, no. Like the data point is within the middle of the logo. So like Arizona is out. I think Illinois is like just out. Kentucky, I don't want to talk about it. I don't understand it either. Kentucky's 20 on Ken Palm. Like call us in a month if they keep losing like this, then they'll be nowhere near it. But no, they're technically out of it. Again, it's not vague. There are certain harder variances I use to try to draw it and within the national averages and stuff, but Arizona, yes, just out, but again, this is December, so
Yeah. Some just observations like team specific for me, maybe like who am I surprised one way or the other on here.
sure.
This felt like a good potential data point for BYU believers.
I
Right
love
in the
them.
heart of this, and a team that is kind
Yeah.
of not discussed to the same level of like the favorites, the Dukes, the Arizonas, the Michigans. In terms of teams that are right in the middle of this, you've got UConn, Duke, Iowa State, BYU, Gonzaga, Michigan, and Michigan State are on polar opposite ends of the tempo spectrum, but they're in here. Louisville, Kentucky, Arizona, and Illinois all close. Vanderbilt is also snug in there. Are you buying Vanderbilt as a legitimate national title team?
I don't think that they're a national title contender. I think they've been unbelievable. They haven't hashtag played a lot of teams, um, but they are very good. They also don't really play tough teams until like Alabama, I think, on the new year. So like
Yeah.
they might be number 8, 7, or 8 in the country going to play against Alabama at home, and they could even win that game because that's the style they like to play. I have my doubts that they're a national title contender because they're offense, 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 but I expected them to be faster paced on here, so I'll give them credit for that. Are
Yeah.
you in on them being a title contender or no?
I don't think I am, and I'm not trying to like. It's not fun to come on with like the quote unquote Cinderella team. They're not Cinderella; they're an SEC team, but right.
Yeah.
This is like the surprising feel good story of the sport this year. It's not fun to like come on and be like, I don't believe in it. I love the way they play, and I like this makeup. I think Mark Byington's amazing. I hope they get Tyron Stokes. That would be hilarious. But no, to me, as we scroll through this, I'm ready to see them play a top 30 opponent for the first time this year and see if
Yeah,
it
that's
holds.
crazy. That's crazy. Again, you want to say you play who you play, but you also control your schedule. So
Right,
I
right.
don't know.
And
Yeah.
they've done a good job getting to where they've gotten, but SEC play is calling for sure. Maybe I don't know, I don't want to call it pushback, but the teams that once you understand the trapezoid, it's not surprising they're outside of it, but great championship contender teams that are not in the trapezoid this year. Both Purdue and Houston too slow, and also right now too bad of a net rating adjusted
Just
for
not good.
opponents.
Just not good enough. So this, I also only use like data from this season. Like the Ken Palm will use predictive stuff still, I think, in some capacity, and it is predictive. It's obviously, of course, it is, but preseason predictive, and influences where Houston's like they just haven't been good enough. Like we can agree that right now. Like they haven't
Yeah,
been. Kelvin Sampson agrees too. He said the same thing. Like he was like, we haven't been nowhere near good enough, but we're gonna get better and better with the freshmen. And Purdue. It was one game, but also what they've played 9 games. So that's more than 10% of your entire season. And you lose by whatever at home, like even to a good team, that's going to tank you down a little bit also. But they have been playing super, super slow on the national scale. That will hold. So they're going to have to really pump. Also, to be fair, where they are now is normally a title contender. Like that's where Houston was last year in the trap, but the trapezoid was just lower because
yeah,
you didn't have teams at of over 40 net rating. Like this is a ridiculous level that the sport has never seen before.
yeah.
So grain of salt, if they play exactly how they do now, they should be in it by the time March comes around.
Yeah, a lot can change. We expect Purdue to get better, and I don't know, things can come around for sure. The Houston plot point's interesting. Without the predictives, they are dead on where Villanova and Iowa are right now. But that, when you think about it, like that's the level they've played to.
Exactly. I don't think it's wrong at all, right? Like they went to overtime with Syracuse, they lost to Tennessee, and both those teams don't look great.
Yeah,
So
it's kind of crazy. You saw Purdue in person. Are you still buying this team as a national title contender?
yeah, on the fringe on the back end of it, but I wouldn't. I think this like they're not 30 point or 20 whatever points worse than Iowa State. Um, I think it showed some really exploited some really big vulnerabilities,
Yeah,
and that is what I worry about. Where defensively they are terrible attacking ball screens, and then offensively I worry that like Braden isn't this ISO scorer, this ISO player, right? TKR and Fletch obviously aren't that either. Their offense is so good and so sound. That's why it was the number one offense in the country. I worry when someone's off or you're playing against a Houston or an Iowa State or really good defense like that. What are you gonna do? Like where you have to take over games. Braden was actually playing well, I thought, for a majority of the game. But like, what is
was.
he supposed to do? He's a pass first player. He's a point guard. He's not this prolific scorer. So like that worries me a little bit on the offensive end. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean you saw them at their worst, right? It's kind of like what they say about marriage. You got to love me at my worst to get me at my best. And
interesting.
I'm with you. I think that's the worst you'll ever see Purdue It was a pretty big anomaly. I thought those guys kind of almost sunk their shoulders and were like, I can't believe a team's doing
Yeah,
this to us at home. And that won't happen again. They'll be more mentally locked in and in the state of Indiana, right? For the Final Four potentially. It just feels like
hopefully.
destiny. They'll end up getting there. But
There was a
shame.
moment too, by the way, when I was standing on the court the entire game. Braden, like I think they turned the ball over early in the second half again, and like it was like one of those stupid turnovers out of bounds, and he just like looked around and like I don't blame him. I like he's a vet, but like, I don't, he just looked around. He like didn't know what to do, and he was like kind of like went like that, and I was like, yeah, they're not winning this game. There's no way.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point too. When you look back at last year, I've talked so much about the psychology of this team and their identity in the post Edie era. Everyone on this core spent 2 years being the team to beat in the sport, the most
Yeah,
scrutinized, the most number one seed, all of it. And they always obviously had Edie to power them through it and not taking anything away from these three. But I think they came into last year very much still with the we're the team to beat mentality. And when it got to the point where they realized they weren't the team to beat, they sort of just exhaled and couldn't believe it.
yeah,
And then you immediately refresh this year again, team to beat, preseason number one, all these expectations. It's got to be jarring. I know Braden's told us as much. They're not paying attention to the other Big Ten teams,
yeah.
but you're paying attention to what's happening in front of you. And it's got to be jarring to look up and be like, oh my God, we're down 20. We're supposed to be the number one team. How is this happening? I felt that visibly from those three in that game. And they've got to get over that and figure out ways to combat it going forward.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll see. All right, good work on the trapezoid. As always, make sure everybody goes and follows Ryan Hammer. Fun topic for our third topic today. We're going to do a national title contender snake draft. We will both end this draft with 6 teams on our list of teams we want or believe will win the national championship. We'll snake style it. So someone will have the first pick, someone will have 2 and 3, and we'll alternate back and forth. Who do you want to go first here?
I want to let you go first. I want to let you go first. I
Ugh,
want to let you go first.
I hate that you're doing this to
I
me.
want to let you pick who you want to pick. I just want to let you, you know, I want to let you tell the people, the good sleepers audience, who you think the number one national title contender is at right now as of December 10th.
It's so generous of you. I don't know if you even know this or not, but they are not my national title pick right now. But for the sake of this exercise, I will take the team that is the best team in the country, the team that is analytically the most likely to get this done. I will take my Michigan Wolverines first in the national title contender draft.
At the end, will you tell me who your pick is or no?
Yeah, as soon as they get drafted, I'll tell you because I'm hoping they fall to me at the turn here.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay, fair play, fair play.
Yep.
Listen, we don't listen to outside noise. I'm focused on my own team here, my own draft selection. Um, I'm going to take Duke at number 2 pick. I think when you look at the system last year, I still think that they probably should have won the national championship if they didn't crumble at the end of the Houston game. Again, they had freshmen. Houston was Houston. Like that's how it played out for a reason. That's who they were. But Duke, analytically, one of the best teams of all time last year. Very similarly built this year. I still worry about their guard play, but I think by March they will have that figured out a little bit more. And I hope they do for this exercise alone.
Foster's
Number
stepped up
two,
too. Like in
okay.
terms of the guard stuff, he's delivered at what we're hoping he delivers a little bit, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Good
I
pick.
don't know. I still ponder on the guard play for Duke, like if it's good enough now or not. It's not now. I don't think it's won the championship, but they've shot the ball poorly and not been great off as good as they can be offensively, and they've still been arguably the best team in the country or number 2, whatever. So,
Yep, good pick.
um, yeah, there's a few here. There's really only 3 teams I want to choose from here. Um, I can't take them. I'm gonna stick with the undefeated teams. I don't know if they can win. I'm gonna get the mantra outside of my head, the name brand stuff out of my head. I'm gonna take the Iowa State Cyclones because
Wow.
I have not seen they're better than they were last year when they got to number 2 in the country last year, and with Keyshawn and Curtis, I think they relied on such explosive spurts from them offensively that when they got cold, it was over. Where this team is much better and much more balanced and sound offensively. Um, I don't know with the tight rotation. Hopefully they stay healthy, obviously, like they didn't last year. They're awesome, and their defense is obviously unbelievable. I'm throwing out of my brain that they are Iowa State in Ames, Iowa, with a young coach because I think CJ Otzelberger is awesome, and all those things tell me not to pick them, but I'm going to take Iowa State.
There's a totally reasonable hypothesis right now that Iowa State is the team that we all thought Purdue was. The veteran pass first amazing
Yeah.
facilitator floor general point guard, the best shooter in the country between them, the versatile all-American front court power forward, the transfer center that's just productive as hell, the youth movement at the shooting guard spot that's going to emerge and get better and better. Like it's literally just advanced. It's what we thought
And like,
your Purdue would
it-
be.
and if you think about it, like player for player, you can argue yeah every Iowa State player over the Purdue players. Like definitely there's bigger two spots, and then the point guard spot is obviously the one. But I trust each of the Iowa State players on their own on an island in an ISO ball against the other one against Purdue. I trust Tamin Lipsey to get me a bucket more than I trust Braden Smith right now. I trust Milan Momcilovic more than anyone in the country to get me a bucket at this point.
Right.
But I trust Josh Jefferson more than I trust TKR to go get me a bucket, and I think that plays a role.
Right. I don't blame you after what you saw in Mackey. With that said, I want to virtually spit on you right now because Braden Smith is who I trust more than any point guard in the country. Let's make that
To
extremely
get you
clear.
a bucket or to create a bucket?
Anything. Anything.
Ah, okay,
Point at the
okay.
wrist. Point at the wrist. That's my
He,
guy. That's my
he does
floor
do that. I
general.
want to see the tattoo, by the way, the sleeve. He doesn't show the sleeve. I know he hides it, but
Yeah, he's real careful with it. We'll get that done at the Final Four somehow. We're working on some plans right now. We'll make that happen.
dude, even the interview I did with them, I haven't posted yet. He's wearing an arm sleeve because they were in practice in and out. But I'm like, damn, wanted to see it.
I'm pretty sure Purdue told him he can't show that. That's
That's
my
crazy.
theory. But we got him to show it on the pod one episode, and it's something. It's the real deal, that's for sure. Shameless plug, by the way, Lance Jones Purdue episode for Running Point with Braden Smith. We're recording that tonight.
Nice.
We literally asked this is the first guest we've been like, hey, can we get this? Because Cart and I felt strongly coming off the Iowa State loss, we needed a fourth chair. We just didn't want to do the same me and Cart interrogating Braden. Let's get a new vibe switch in here. And let's bring an enforcer type in. Because I
He
want to
was there
ask
too.
he was there. I want to
He was there.
ask Lance to his face, like, did these boys get punked? What happened? And see what he says.
You got
You
to
know?
make Lance hit the. What are they? What are they?
Oh yeah, the yeah. Get through all that. All right, this played out exactly how I wanted. I gotta say, this is my national title pick. I've said it from game one, and I haven't changed it, and I'm not changing it yet. It's the number one team in the country right now, the Arizona Wildcats.
I knew you
Uh,
were gonna say that, man.
I think they're very similar to Michigan. I think in general, Tommy Lloyd is going to have a Todd Golden arc where just one year it happens, and all of a sudden we view him as like, whoa, he could be the coach of the sport for the next 10 years. His teams are always in contention. They're always good enough. They just haven't had the breakthrough yet. The reason I believe this year's team is different, number one, Koa Pete is not appreciated for what he is. He's a top four freshman in the sport to me. He's sensational. And number two, the difference between them and Michigan, why I still hold true, they're more likely to win it than Michigan. They've got the veteran year two transfer guard that Michigan doesn't have.
Mhm.
Jaden Bradley is a guy that can play 40 minutes in March, lock down your best point guard, give you great offensive minutes, and he's not coming off the floor. Michigan might not need it. I know they're versatile, but when we get to March, I am still going to have concerns that Cadeau can be that guy. I am going to have concerns that Roddy Gale can be that guy. I have no concerns about Jaden Bradley. They are my title pick.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I wanted to take them. I was like, over Iowa State. Something in my gut just saw Iowa State's name and I was like, I'm just gonna go with it.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue against that. Like their size can match up with anybody in the country, like Michigan, and at least limit them a little bit and give them a little bit of a cap to let their guard play kind of prevail. And like we've seen the second year transfer guards, Tristan Newton. You were describing Jaden Bradley, and in my brain I just kept hearing Tristan Newton, Tristan Newton, Tristan Newton. Like his
Yep.
second year, obviously when he had to be the dude, like it made a lot of sense. And Tommy Lloyd, like I've definitely given him shit personally over the last few years. Like he's a first time head coach. He's a Gonzaga disciple, like from a program that is like the championship caliber team every single year. He gets it. He's a Team USA guy. Like he's so good. It would not surprise me if he just cracks it this year. And then we're like, oh, like, okay, whoops,
Right.
we
Oh,
forgot.
yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
All right, this is going to be an auto pick for me after the big four are gone. Because if you had picked Arizona, I would have picked Iowa State. This was automatic for me in the five spot. I'm taking Dan Hurley. I'm taking
Yeah.
UConn. I'll take the best coach. I think you got to blindly
No.
trust him more than any of the other options.
Yeah. I think they have the highest floor in the country, by the way. I don't like, there's no way they lose to a bad team and lose early. Like, and watching them every single time, they execute so well late game situations. They're talented enough. Their system is great.
Yeah.
Terrace, everybody healthy. I got no problem with that at all.
The one thing
Um,
I'm going to nitpick myself
yeah.
on, and I brought this up to Card on something. The only thing holding me back from thinking this is a UConn year is I feel like you could go through every national champion throughout history, name their best player, and be like, oh yeah, makes sense he's a national champ. When I try to do that with UConn, I get on solo ball or Alex Caravan, and it just doesn't feel right.
No, it doesn't feel right. Solo Ball would be the guy, I think, if they won a national championship, that
Yeah.
you would say he exploded, pause, in March and April, and he's the guy that like took over and became the number one option.
Yeah, I agree. All right, back to you for two.
I'm taking Gonzaga without a doubt. I think they're a certified title contender. I think they're one of the best teams in the country. The Michigan game was alarming. It was eye-opening. I don't think it was a friendly matchup, even if it Michigan wasn't as good as they are. Um, I just think that they're a different type of Gonzaga team. They're a team of grown men. They have guys who have missed full years, and they're 24 and 25 and 26 years old by the time March comes around. Mario Saint Supri, El Principito, they call him. Absolutely love that dude. Yeah, dude. By the way, when I met them in Vegas, I fell in love with them even more. Like on a basketball lens, of course. Graham Ike is the greatest. He's terrifying, also
Yeah.
terrifying. But they told me a story. El Principito, he's awesome. He's only going to get better, and their guard play is already good. They're so deep. They're so much better defensively and deeper than they always are. I love Gonzaga. I don't know if this is the year. It'd be awesome if they won it in their last year in the WCC. That'd be electric.
I just Googled El Principito, The Little Prince.
So there's a book called The Little Prince by his great grandfather. His great grandfather wrote the book like years and years ago, and it's a very famous book called The Little Prince. I'm actually, you know what? This post tomorrow, I have that short a video saved in my. I'm gonna post it tomorrow as this airs, so that we don't break news here. I got to make sure I break it from the video. El Principito, they call him.
Unbelievable. I love it. All right, good
Yeah,
pick. I think we had the consensus top six alignment here. Who are you going seven?
it's tough, dude. Let's list them. I just want to. Actually, I'm not gonna list them out. Let's whatever. I'm gonna take Houston here. I'm a Houston guy through and through. I always have been. This again, like I said about Gonzaga, this Houston team is very different because the Houston that you normally see now is the Houston you're going to get in February and March, where with freshmen leading the way and a Kingston Flemings who they have never had a freshman guard this good that I can remember probably ever realistically, or at least in the recent memory. He's unbelievable. I think he could be one of the best guards in the country and a top five, top 10 pick lock at some point by the end of the year. If he gets better, if Chris Sinak and Isaiah Harwell all get better with Miles Zuzan hopefully shooting better and Emmanuel Sharp and JoJo Tugler, like it's a team that's deeper. You can rely on more guys than what you can be comfortable with in past Houston teams, and it's also Houston. It's Kelvin Sampson. So
Yeah, I was gonna say the same way I picked UConn just blindly for Hurley. I feel like it's worth it at seven to take Kelvin Sampson, like knowing what this team's gonna be as they get a little more experienced. And yeah, it feels like a great buy low moment on Houston. How rare is it that they're outside the Ken Palm top 10 at any point in the season? Seems like sacrilegious at this point. I will say that is the first one that jumbled up my big board because Houston was not in my group of three I was considering next. Now I got to pick
ooh,
two of these three.
okay.
And I'm kind of debating if I want to game this and pick the two I think you're least likely to pick, maybe get all three. I'm not going to, though. I think I'm going to leave one obvious one to you and take the two I like most. I'm going to take Purdue. The Final Four is in Indy. I believe in destiny. I believe in the best point guard in the country. I believe that this is a buy low time for Purdue. They're still the preseason number one team in the country. They're not going to shoot that bad again. I'm just blindly taking them. This one might be a curveball to you. I don't know.
Wait, do you have any worry about the number one preseason number one curse though?
No,
You said you feel in destiny and karma, all these things. I feel like that's kind of line up.
I know it does, but no.
Okay, okay.
Shit. Now I do. Now
No,
it's
no, 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 no. I said the same thing about Texas a few years ago when the Final Four was in somewhere in Texas.
you're scaring me right now.
No, 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 no. You made the pick. You made the pick.
I'm changing the subject. This is my fifth pick, and I will campaign for this team all season long. They have been a Final Four pick of mine. I'm taking the Illini.
I figured that was a team that you were going to try to leave to me to not take, but I think I would have had to take them also. They're awesome. Do you think that they're going to be consistently enough defensively to be able to win a national championship? Because like realistically, someone from the top 12 of the week 6 poll, obviously, but someone from the top 8 to 10 are the national title team is the national champion as of
Yeah.
right now. Like, do you think that they are belong in that conversation?
Not right now, I don't. I think if I'm being fully transparent, and this is, speaking as a Michigan fan, of course I'm going to say this. They are a Merez Johnson away from being my national title pick. Like the whole concern with this Illinois team for me is physicality and toughness.
Mm.
And they don't have like even in the Ohio State game last night, the Aviciches were people were going through them. Like the whole pitch there is size and skill, and they are so size and skilled. They're good enough to do it, but they've got to come up with something, some sort of answer for last year. Michigan State punked them, and they whined about it the whole game.
Right.
Is the result going to be different this year? The thing I come back to with this team, number one, I think they're better. Like Tom Avicic, second best player on the team last year, is the fifth best player now because they're more talented. But number two, I think Brad Underwood is rightfully so right now one of the most underappreciated coaches in America because his teams have always fallen short. I get it. Doesn't it feel an awful lot like the way we would have talked about Matt Painter 2 years ago? His teams were
Yeah.
always in the mix. They were
Good point.
always that good. All of a sudden, he's just going to get over the hump one year. And all of a sudden, we're going to feel stupid for doubting that he's been having top 10 teams in the country every single year. I think this is the year. And to the Jade Bradley point, you said Tristan Newton. Kylan Boswell feels a
Oh,
little bit like that too.
so good. He's one of my favorite players in the country. He's awesome. He's so good defensively. He's so smart. He's awesome.
Yeah.
I
You're
gotta
right,
wait.
though. That was the one I was going to leave and hope you let them go.
I
I
don't know
know
if
who
I
you're
would have been
picking
able
next.
to. I don't know if I would have been able to. I don't know if I would have been able to, but yeah, I don't know about Illinois. I just think that they're really high floor. They have a high floor like they've had in the last couple of tournaments, and then they come against a team who's they're clearly outmatched against, or vice versa, or however you want to say it,
Yeah.
who clearly outmatches them, and then they just struggle in that game. The UConn thing, whatever, like they lost by a million that one 2 years ago, but that was also UConn on their way to the championship. So.
Yeah. All right. Two more picks to close it for you. I've got one more at the turn.
This is where, to me, 100%, we're at a point. Actually, no, I'll take BYU. What am I saying?
That was the
Um,
team. That
I
was
was
the
like,
one
wait
I
a
almost
minute.
stole. Yeah.
I'll definitely take BYU. I don't think they will win the national championship. I think on paper they have the pieces. The one thing that I have loved from them is that they're this younger, more inexperienced team. A lot of new guys also relying on this young talent. They're an offensive-minded team, a free-flowing team for the most part. They have a younger coach who comes from the NBA side. All those things point to struggling earlier on in the season. They have had their struggles for sure, but they were down by 20 against UConn and TD Garden. They came
Yep.
back and tied that game up with a couple minutes left. They were down by 20 plus to Clemson, a team who likes to slow the game down and play tough defensively in MSG, the other Garden, the real Garden, I guess, whatever, Garden. And they came back and won that game on a buzzer beater. Like they are resilient. They're physical when they need to be. They lock in defensively when they need to. They're very, very resilient. And them being battle tested and succeeding in those battles, even if they did lose that game against UConn, like so impressive to me. So I'm excited to see when they're losing to Arizona in January and when they're down in against Houston, how do they come back? Like I think seeing this now is going to prepare them well for later in the year, especially the young guys. And AJ, he's got he's got that factor.
He
He's got that
does.
gene. He's got that
Yeah.
gene. So that's my rant on BYU. I would imagine you probably agree they probably won't win the title, but they're fun.
No, they could. I mean, I almost picked them instead of Illinois, hoping to drop Illinois, but it's more on brand for me to have to pick Illinois. So if I had to go down with one of them, I'll take Illinois over BYU. But it's the right pick at that spot. I think if they can, they just got to get AJ to play first halves the way he plays second halves. And if they get that, I don't know who beats this team truly.
Yeah, I mean the Big 12, think about the top of the Big 12, right? Iowa State, BYU, you have Houston, Arizona,
Yeah.
Texas Tech, Kansas, like that is a ridiculous top six of the conference. Baylor's been pretty good too, so
What a gauntlet. It would
I have
not
to
be
pick
crazy if
BYU.
we closed this draft with two more Big 12 teams.
Yeah, it wouldn't be crazy at all. You're trying to bait me into something though.
I might be. It does feel wide open after this. Like once you
Yeah,
get through the top 10, you're kind of just like blindly putting your faith in the team, you know?
yeah, I don't. Oh man, like I'll tell you who I'm between because I have one pick left. You have one pick left, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I am between Michigan State, Alabama, which is very unlike me, and Texas Tech just because of I love them and I know that they're awesome and they have it in them to be great. I just know it's not them to win a national championship. I know it in my bones. It's not going to be them. Sadly, I love them. I love
Why?
them. I
Too
think they can be
limited?
great.
Like outside of the big two, just not enough there?
Lawan Watts has not been good enough. He was good their last couple of games. I think it was. I need so much more out of him. And then they just like I just don't trust a lot of their guys between like Donovan Atwell has been shooting the ball nicely, and then it just goes to Ben Boye, who's a block machine and a rim runner, and Tyree Bryant. Like I don't know, it's not enough. And Christian Anderson hasn't been good enough against really good teams, even though it's been early on in the season. So I need to see more out of him. And JT Toppin is stoppable, and you can limit him in some kind of capacity.
Yeah,
Kind of reminds me of a poor man's version of the Purdue teams with Zach Edey. Like
I see that.
again, poor man's version, but you get it. Man, I'm gonna go. They won't win. Michigan State's not gonna win the title, I don't think, but I'm gonna go with Alabama. I usually don't. The pace is the thing, the style. They can get taken out of their game. Similar to Illinois, they're a very high floor team because they're so good at what they do. Their guards are unbelievable. Aiden Holloway's breakout is more important than LeBaron Philon being amazing because we knew LeBaron Philon was going to be amazing. Maybe not this good. Like he's like a top 10 pick, lottery pick level player right now. LeBaron is awesome. Aiden is awesome. They have so many shooters. Aiden Sherrill is like a legit center. Taylor Bull Bowen need more consistency, but he's been good. Like they have dudes to be able to go to the Final Four this year, and people have kind of forgotten about them a little bit. They've played such a tough schedule against all these different kinds of teams. Like I like them enough to take them in this kind of exercise at least.
I think that's the right pick, even if you and I both maybe don't want to buy the stock individually in it due to, what we said in the trapezoid segment. If Philon's good enough to have like March Hero vibes to him. We've seen Oates get to a Final Four. You know the brand of basketball is good enough to at least win you 3 or 4 games in this tournament, and then it's a dice roll from there. Even in a single elimination game in the Final Four, do you really want to be playing a 3-point variance team like that? Like it's one of the scariest things you could match up against. So I'm stuck here. I'm not picking Michigan State. Like I said, I don't think this is the year. I think next year's the year. I thought about Texas Tech, but you talked me out of it as we talked through the role players. That leaves me with 2 teams that I would seriously consider a possibility for. The runner-up I'm ultimately not going to pick is Florida. And
Interesting.
I thought you might pick Florida.
They got to beat someone good. They got to they got to hashtag beat somebody.
I know. The record right now is spooky. They've had plenty of chances. They've been in all these games, and something just doesn't feel right with it right now. But I might look back on this and be really regretful I didn't just take the defending national champs, and Thomas Howe's been amazing. So I am going to shock myself with this, but I think there's a team that just point blank has an obvious reason they haven't been as good as they will be in March. I think Kansas could do it. I think
Yeah,
that they have established early they're the eighth best defense in the sport.
that's crazy.
It's crazy, but if they're gonna go Tiller and Badunga, I think it's real. Like I buy Trey White's a good defender. I think they've
Yeah.
got bodies. I think this defense is going to remain national title good. They're 50th offensively because they've played half their games without Darren Peterson.
Yeah, I've been a big proponent of like they were playing so heavily through Darren in the beginning because that's what Bill Self thought he had to do.
Yeah,
When Darren got hurt, it was the best thing ever for them, as long as he's okay, obviously, which seems like he's perfectly fine.
right.
Because it forces Trey White and Melvin Council and everybody to have to do more. And El Marco Jackson, they've each had big games in their own rights, especially Trey White has been pretty consistent. And now you get Darren Peterson back. He looks great from the start. You know he's amazing. You can argue he's the best player in the country. Like you can make that case for Darren Peterson, especially as a guard in March. Like you said about LeBaron Philon, Darren Peterson's got that March gene in him for sure. That he's got that April gene in him,
Yeah.
and the role players and the supporting cast are more comfortable doing more. So you can balance it a little more. And I think it's so important for them. Listen, we're picking at straws here of teams who probably won't end up winning, but I like it.
Yeah, had to do it. All right, so I end up with Michigan, Arizona, UConn, Purdue, Illinois, and Kansas, an appropriate amount of Big Ten love on my list. And then yours is Duke, Iowa State, Gonzaga, Houston, BYU, and Alabama. If there were sportsbook odds assigned to which one of our groups had the winner eventually in this, what do you think those odds would be?
Read me yours again.
I had Michigan, Arizona, UConn, Purdue, Illinois,
Oh,
and Kansas.
I'd probably take yours at a slight favorite of like a minus 200 or minus 175, mine at a plus one, probably even odds it would be, or plus 120 or something like that. Just because those first three are Arizona and UConn after Michigan are a problem.
It was all your generosity for giving me the number one pick with my team. Thank you, Ryan.
Listen, man, you're wearing the quarter zip. I do want to, by the way, you said about Florida. I just thought of this and I looked it up real quick. When Alabama went to the Final Four, that was the year they started 6-5 because they were losing to really good teams, and they all lost to Ohio State, Clemson, not amazing teams, but they
Yeah.
lost to good teams, Purdue, Creighton, Arizona. So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. It's I think we might both kick ourselves a month from now for maybe overlooking Todd Golden. But hey, here we are. Ryan Hammer's debut on the Sleepers Pod was awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. One big thing. What do you got?
Last night on my train ride home, my hour and 20-minute, hour and a half train ride home from MSG, I met a man by the name of Eric. He asked me if he could use my phone to make a call. His phone was cracked. You know what? I'm suspicious people are gonna take my stuff always. I don't care, whatever. I let him have it. He looked a little rugged and worn down, and I was like, I'm right here. He's not taking my phone. I'm fast, whatever. He made a call, so I'm picking him up at the last stop of the train station. And turns out, right after, he tells me he had just gotten released from prison, and he got on the train, and he had no, like, they just dumped him on the street and said, figure your own way out home. Obviously, he had to go all the way down south towards down the beach areas by me in Jersey. And we ended up getting to this crazy conversation about like life and the things he's been through and stuff. And my big thing was just be grateful. Be grateful for what you have and don't take things for granted. So Eric, shout out Eric for getting out of prison, man. Third time locked up. He was locked up for a few weeks, and shout out to Eric.
Wow, unbelievable. Eric, shout out to you. I hope somehow this makes its way back to you. You never know what you're going to get. That's incredible.
There you go.
All right, my one big thing. Are we sure that Eric wasn't Jelly Roll?
No. I, what's the reasoning for that?
Well, that I feel like that's Jelly Roll's whole story. If you didn't hear on the Illinois-Tennessee game where they gave him 19 minutes of the broadcast, it was just I've
Yes.
been through the redemption arc, you know?
Eric was much smaller and of a different race.
Oh, got
So
it. Got
that's
it.
probably a lot of the cause too, but he was probably half the size of him too.
You heard it here first. Eric, not Jelly Roll. Breaking
There you go.
news on the Sleepers podcast. Ryan, thank you. That was great, man. We'll be back on the Sleepers pod tomorrow. Everybody have a great day.